And when it comes to your health, if you are not willing to spend the money that you need on yourself, don't ever expect your children or the world to treat you in a way that you're deserving of their life, because the world outside is nothing but a mere reflection of who we are. So if you find yourself in a place where you give, but the world does not treat you rightly in return, it is because you don't treat yourself rightly. I want that to sink in. The way the world treats us, the way that our family treats us, is a mere reflection of how we feel about ourselves on the inside. It's a mere reflection of whether we respect or disrespect ourselves. We cannot expect our spouses to love us more than we love ourselves. We cannot say, but I loved you and I gave you this and I gave you that. No, you can't. Your spouse learns to love you in the way you love yourself. If you're neglectful, your spouse, your partner will neglect you. Hello and welcome to the Health Wizard podcast. I'm your host, Elena Isolde Medici, a health and life coach. I'm so excited that you're choosing to listen to my podcast because you are choosing to make your health your priority. The Health Wizard podcast is dedicated to teaching natural, easy to implement practices that you can use to get your health on track and become the person you used to be before getting sick and the person you're dreaming of becoming again, happy, healthy, full of energy, and living a life filled with joy. Now, very quickly, before we dive into the good stuff, I want to remind you that this podcast is intended for education and entertainment purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you have a medical condition, please seek the help of a licensed medical professional. I am not a medical doctor. I do not treat, diagnose, prescribe, or make claims outside of my areas of expertise. So by choosing to listen to the Health Wizard podcast, you take full responsibility for your own actions. And when you hear the testimonials of the people who were able to get well, realize that their outcomes depended on their effort and their specific situation. With that said, let's jump into today's episode. Please enjoy. Hello, beautiful souls. Elena here. And this time I'm reporting in from the wilderness, the forest of Texas. My family and I decided that we were going to take a trip while still doing the homeschooling and working with my clients and doing all the wonderful things that we normally do, but from a comfortable, cozy cabin in the woods near Houston. By day, we explored and we went for hikes, and at nights we sat by the fire and enjoyed our hearts to our heart's content. So today I'm actually recording from right by the fireside. I am all equipped with microphones, so the sound is still great. But I wanted to drop into your space to talk to you about you. Many times when women come to me, and I work mostly with women, although of course I work with men too. But women are more prone to this than men. That's why I'm going to focus on you ladies. When women reach out to me and we get through the process of the health clarity call, and then if they qualify to work with me, we get to health strategy call. Oftentimes, here's what I hear. Oh my goodness, Elena, it sounds so fantastic, but I feel guilty taking this time away from my family or this money away from my family to focus on healing myself. Now, before I shied away from having this kind of conversations and podcasts, but like I said a couple of podcasts ago, I'm coming back with a different prerogative on how I want to help you all reach your health goals. So we're going to remove all possible constraints here, and I'm going to speak directly from my heart. When I listen to these women, a part of me as a woman, as a mother, I go, I get it, as a human being. We are sacrificial. We want to save the world. We want to help our children and grandchildren and fix the roof and patch the busted tires in the car and buy our kids shoes. We want to take care of our parents and grandchildren and somebody else. We'll always find an excuse not to make ourselves the primary goal, a priority in our lives. One time I was talking to a woman, and that was about 5 years ago, and we got through the process. She qualified, she was eager to heal, but then she had this such sense of guilt. And mind you, not all of you ladies are the same, but this one, her personality was a giver and an empath. She goes through the process and goes, I really want to do it, but my daughter has a wedding soon, and I was going to pay for a part of it, and Of course, a mother's heart's like, that's what we do, right, ladies? This is what we do. We give until it hurts. But the question that I had to ask her, and I want you to ask that of yourself, would your daughter rather have a sick mother who pays for her wedding or a healthy mother and have a smaller wedding? Now, that woman chose to sacrifice herself for her daughter's privilege, not the right, but the privilege to have a fancy wedding. I also spoke to women who don't necessarily have to pay for weddings, but one in particular came with her husband to a call about 6 years ago. And he loved that woman. And she, again, she qualified. She would have been a great person. And then she goes, I feel guilty spending that money on me. The man, her husband, is sitting there lovingly says, honey, the money is here. Take the money, spend it on you. You need it for your health. She ended up fighting herself out of the possibility of achieving what my clients achieve, 100% wellness within 3 to 9 months. She walked away, and then I heard from her a few years later she was still sick. The big question here to ask for all of us as women and as men, of course, if you're a guy listening to me, is, am I sacrificing my well-being on the altar of serving others? Now, on the one hand, you go, Elaine, of course I'm supposed to serve others. I'm supposed to serve my family. The answer is yes, you are, but to an extent. In our society, we make sacrifice of ourselves this heroic act where we say, oh my God, they sacrificed themselves. Somebody jumped into a burning building, or the mother worked 3 jobs to provide for her children, and all the commendable things. But on the other hand, what are we teaching our children? Are we teaching them to be sacrificial as much as we are, so that they're suffering? And when your child grows up, if they become just like you, would you be happy, or would you be telling them, hey, Susie, hey, Johnny, you really need to take care of yourself more? Would you be okay with them sacrificing themselves for the sake of others, or would you be butting in and say change? And if you would be butting in and telling them to do different, why wouldn't you do differently for yourself? If Johnny and Susie and Mary and Bobby, whoever your family is, if they're deserving of your sacrifice, why wouldn't you be deserving of that sacrifice first yourself? There's a saying, is it in Italian culture, but in many other cultures too, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? But let's take it a step further. If mommy is not healthy, if daddy is not healthy, then nobody can really benefit from their sacrifice. Just imagine you're sacrificial. You're taking your children from practice to practice, from soccer to baseball to piano recital to something else. Meanwhile, your thyroid is down in a dumpster. Your adrenals are shot. Your hormones are out of balance. Or maybe you're pining to have another child, but you can't conceive because there's endometriosis or PCOS. But as long as little Mary and Jen, you're happy and they have 100 things to go to, you feel like, my sacrifice will be worth it. Let me tell you this. It will not be worth it. It's not justified. We, in our American society especially, we made our children our little gods. We worship them. We take them to all the practices. We never asked them if they wanted to. We wanted for them. Let's learn English and Russian and German and French. Let's take you to a piano practice, a violin practice. You're going to be a dancer, a gymnast, and some kind of soccer player or football player. It's all for them. And what we're teaching our little gods is that they're important and we are not. And those little gods will grow up into different ways. One, they'll become just like us and they'll not even know who they are, or they'll be like the succubus sucking the life out of everybody else, saying me all the time. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, we lose, they lose. What I propose is a different approach. Those of you who are religious people in Christianity, there is a scripture in your Bible, and those of you who are in any Judaic religion, you'll find it in the Old Testament, that love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, I find that is a poorly translated version of what that verse says, because if you properly translate it, here's how it goes. Love yourself so you know how to love your neighbor. Because unless you know how to love yourself, how can you possibly know how to love your neighbor? And here's where we get stuck. We go out and we go, okay, we're going to do what the good book says. Again, whatever religion you are, in most religions, it's being taught. And I'm going to sacrifice myself because some divine power wants me to. But never once do we sit down and actually read that part. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, which is, just taking your English, let's break it apart. You cannot possibly love your neighbor unless you love yourself. In other words, if you suck at loving yourself, this is how you're going to love your neighbor, because it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if you look in the mirror and let's say your name is Mary, and Mary looks in the mirror and says, I don't even know who I am. I'm empty. I am filled with anxiety. I'm filled with depression. I am ready and willing to give up. This is the love that you have for yourself. Then therefore you're going to take this love, and that is how you're going to love your neighbor, out of lack, out of being absent from your own life. Nobody wins. Now, if you have in your life people who just suck the life out of you, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to have those hard conversations. It is time to let them know that here's what I'm going to give you and here's what I cannot give you. Better yet, if these are people not in your immediate circle of family and friends, you can let them go. If somebody is sucking off your energy because they know that you're the most given person, so they're going to ask you to do 10 things and you're already overloaded and you're going to go save them, but not yourself. It is time to say no. And remember that no is a complete sentence. So if they come to you and they say, Mary, I want you to, right now, people are in crisis, there's COVID, go and open clinics and give away supplies or go make 100 meals. But Mary has not first loved herself, not taken care of her body and her mind and her spirit. And then Mary also maybe neglected her immediate household. How can Mary possibly go and help others if she's going to do it at the risk of getting sick herself and at the risk of losing herself even more? So Mary's job becomes not to save the world, but to find herself, to save herself, and then out of the abundance of her time, as she has extra after she's served herself, she has served her family, she has the spiritual relationship with whatever divine power that she is serving. And then she says, here's extra 2-3 hours a week, I'm going to go give it to the people. Now, a lot of us go, but no, I want to give more, I want to save them. Okay, well, go and do it at the expense of your own self. See what happens. Your family will be missing you. You'll be missing yourself, and you come back after you served everyone, and your own house, your own body is out of order, it's broken down. And all the people that you helped 2-3 years down the road, they will forget your name. Now, I'm not asking you to be selfish, although sometimes there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm asking you to create and cultivate a sense of self-awareness, which we call in my program when I work with my clients, self-fullness. When you become fully aware of your needs, fully aware of your identity, fully aware of that your health comes first. And you know what? If your children are grown, they're 10 or over, and they can go to the kitchen and take care of their own food, that means if you don't make a meal, you don't make a meal. As long as there's food in the house, they can do it too. Or if for you to get healthy, that means that you need to cook healthy foods, but you're one of those women who goes, but Johnny and Mary and Bobby and now my husband Ted, they all need to be taken care of, and now I'm making 5 meals. Beautiful, wonderful soul. Please stop. You don't owe it to them. What you owe them is the healthiest version of who you are. And when that happens, then you owe them to teach them independence and self-sufficiency, and go find that extra time to focus on your passions and desires and connecting with them and serving them on an emotional, spiritual level, not being their nanny and their cleaner lady and their cook and their driver, whatever you've become to them. Again, it needs to be age appropriate, and I get it. But for example, as I'm raising my child, she's 9 years old right now, soon to be 10. She already has responsibilities. She'll clean her room and her playroom every single day. Once a week, we'll go in there, do deeper cleaning because she's still a child. She'll help out in the kitchen. If she needs a snack, she knows where the food is in the fridge. We provide only healthy options in the house. Why? Because we're also teaching her how to be healthy for the rest of her life. So there's not going to be option B where Isabella decides, well, I don't want to eat like mommy and daddy. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to eat unhealthily. I'm going to depend for mom and dad to do it for me. No, that doesn't happen. As long as we are the ones who are providing finances to buy the foods for her, she's going to eat the way we do. Why? Because it's good for us. It's good for her. Period. End of sentence. We had made our children our gods, and we cater to all of their whims and all of their needs at the cost of ruining them for the rest of their lives. Now, let me take it back full circle. If you ever get on a call with me and you are one of those giving souls and you feel guilty about taking extra 5 hours a week to focus on yourself, if you think you would feel guilty taking money and spending that money on you because, well, fill in the blank, right? Johnny needs shoes, Mary needs to go get braces on, they need to go to college, they're going to have weddings. You're failing yourself. Stop. My parents, when we immigrated to America over 30 years ago, brought 6 of us children and themselves with $300 in their pocket. That was it, because they left everything else we had for the children that stayed behind. And it was not their job to ensure that I had money to go to college or money for a wedding or money for anything. Their job was to bring me up in a way that I'd become self-sufficient and be a helper to them. So I was 16, going on 17 when I came to America. One of the first things that I did, even though I did not speak a lick of English, I went and got myself a job. I went to school, then I went to college, then I went to another college, and I never took a penny from my parents, even though sometimes I had to work 2 or 3 jobs. And that was okay. That did not take away from the greatness of my parents, from who they are to me, what kind of wonderful people they are. But what it did teach me is I am self-sufficient. I'm independent. I can provide for myself when the times get tough. I'm here and nobody needs to rescue me. This is what you owe your children. You don't owe your children guilt. You do not owe your children money outside of their necessities. You do not need to take them to 20 activities to feel fulfilled. You do not owe your synagogue or your church or your community anything until you first take care of yourself. It's in your scriptures, if you read the scriptures. If not, this is just common sense. Until you're happy, and that means until you're healthy and you're whole, until you're thriving, you have no business of spreading yourself thin until the day that you're so worn out that you wish you would die, so that in the process you can teach the very people you're taking care of how to neglect themselves. What you owe to them is the best version of yourself. And if it has been a while since you even looked in the mirror and said, hey, Elena, hey, Mary, hey, Joni, how are you? Who are you? I see you. I hear you. I want you to, right after this podcast, to stop everything that you're doing. Maybe do it right now. Look in the mirror and find a person that you knew many, many years ago, outside of being a mother and a spouse and a comforter and a partner and a child, whatever you are to everybody else. Look in the mirror and discover who you are. And if it's been a while, spend a little time just gazing at yourself. You might feel like crying, and that is okay. You might feel like you need time to figure out who you are, and that is okay. This is the first step to who you are. And when it comes to your health, if you are not willing to spend the money that you need on yourself, don't ever expect your children or the world to treat you in a way that you're deserving of their life, because the world outside is nothing but a mere reflection of who we are. So if you find yourself in a place where you give, but the world does not treat you rightly in return, it is because you don't treat yourself rightly. I want that to sink in. The world, the way the world treats us, the way that our family treats us, is a mere reflection of how we feel about ourselves on the inside. It's a mere reflection of whether we respect or disrespect ourselves. We cannot expect our spouses to love us more than we love ourselves. We cannot say, but I loved you and I gave you this and I gave you that. No, you can't. Your spouse learns to love you in the way you love yourself. If you're neglectful, your spouse, your partner will neglect you in a way. And if they don't, you got yourself a winner. Hold on to them, but still change this part. Your children will mirror the way you treat yourself back to you. So don't get upset if they're not meeting your needs, even though you go out of your way. Here's how I do it in my life, and here's how I help my clients see it and implement it in their lives. My child is important. My relationship is important. My clients are important, but I come first. The first thing in the morning I do is I spend time with me. It is my time for reflection, for meditation, for setting my goals. The last thing that I will do at night when my daughter is asleep is to focus on me, to make sure that my needs as an introvert who needs a lot of alone time are met, so that when I wake up the morning after, I can meet the needs of my family, of myself, and of my clients and the world on the outside. But it starts with me. So if this means that I will go and take an hour-long bath and my daughter will have to fend for dinner for herself because the food is already there and she just needs to serve herself, then that's what it means. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I feel like it, I will do it. If this means what I'm doing right now, mommy needs to work, and I went and sat by the fire while my daughter is right next to me in a cabin here, putting herself to sleep, that's what needs to happen because I'm responsible to me for me first. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane and they give you instructions that if anything happens, if there's turbulence, if the oxygen mask falls out, you need to put it on you before you even serve your child because our knee-jerk reaction, let's go save the world. But what happens when you save the world and not yourself? You're going to suffocate while helping others, and that means you might not even serve them, and you will be absent from their life. But what we need to do is quickly take care of our needs, put the oxygen mask on ourselves, and then and only then, my dear friend, make sure that everybody else's oxygen masks are on. Are you with me on this? I hope that this is sinking in. I hope this is serving at least some of you. You deserve you. So when it comes to guilt, whether it's over your time focusing on you, whether it's over finances, whether it's $1, $5, whether it's $100,000 or $10,000, I really frankly don't care. You deserve to hustle and put yourself first. And please, if you ever want to work with me, I want you to hear me very, very clearly. And I'm going to lean into the microphone here. If you operate from a place of lack, oh my God, but I don't have the money. Oh my, there's no way I can do it. There's no way, whether you work with me or somebody else, or whether somebody charges you 1,000 or 10,000 or 15,000, I really don't care. I don't want you sitting there and saying, oh my God, it's not possible. Because when you operate out of lack with your finances, you're operating out of the same mindset of lack, which is resistance toward abundance in your health, in your relationships, in your love, in your libido, in your career, and whatever it might be. So I do recommend that you work with me if you're operating out of that mindset, because we can break through it. We can give you the tools that you can create abundance. I had many of my clients that went on creating their own businesses after working with me. We work on health, we work on their life. That's what I do, health and life coaching. But I also coach them how to have the mindset of abundance and that they're unstoppable and how they can love themselves. It's all part of healing. And you might want to say, Elena, well, what does that have to do with hypothyroidism? Everything. The reason we develop illnesses, ladies, is because we operate out of lack in some areas of our lives. Might be lack of proper nutrition, lack of self-love. Maybe there was trauma or abuse or some kind of neglect in your life. That's all lack. And until we fix all of those issues, the thyroid health, the PCOS health, hormone health is not going to be possible, or autoimmune health, whatever you're struggling with, or maybe dropping 50 pounds. Maybe you've been trying to chase after weight loss for the last 20 years and it's not happening. You know why? Because there is absolutely, most likely, lack of self-love and appreciation. And a lot of women chase after weight loss at any expense, the pills, the surgeries, but self-love goes in this way. I'm going to fix my nutrition. I'm going to find out maybe if I have any other 5 to 10 root causes, I'm going to address them. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to put my health first. Weight loss is secondary. How many of you can say that? Very few actually do. When they come to me, they go, I need to lose weight no matter what, or I need to get pregnant no matter what. No. We put your health first, and a healthy body usually produces a healthy baby and a healthy pregnancy. And a healthy body can shed a few extra pounds because you'll have more energy to work out. And you'll digest your food better. So absolutely make sure that you prioritize yourself first. Are we all good with that? And if you're not good with that, I can tell you that you probably have a path of suffering before you, and I'm probably not your coach. But if you ever want to work with me, this is the mindset that I want you to adopt. Whether it's time, it's your money. Whether it is something else, it has to start with you. And when it starts with you, things are beautiful. When it started with me and I put my health first, I eventually got the baby that I wanted. And I have the career that I want. And my relationship is flourishing. I have all these things, but every day and every night it starts and ends with me. And this comes to my emotional life and happiness, my spiritual life, my physical life, my financial life. We have to put ourselves first. Yes, I do a lot of sacrificial things for my daughter. Don't get me wrong. I do sacrificial things for my clients and other people. I'm an empath. So for me to take on the pain of somebody else, to filter it through me, it costs me something. But then the self-care comes through on the tail end of it and takes care of me. I start with myself first. I don't forsake the world, but I don't forsake myself for the world either. It is not my job. I'm not their savior. If you believe in a divine being, that's their job, right? His, hers, whatever you call it. Our job is one thing in life. We're put on this planet, evolved, created, whatever you want to call it, to be as healthy as possible and to be as joyful as possible. How do you know that to be true? On your deathbed, you're probably not going to think about how much you sacrifice for others. You're going to say, did I hit all of those wonderful, joyful things that would make me feel like an individual being, individual spiritual being, having his own journey on this planet? Have I fulfilled all those things on that proverbial bucket list? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I have the life that I wanted? Do I have the health that I wanted? Do I have the fulfillment that I wanted? If the answer is no, you need to start changing now. You're on a path to self-destruction, and that will include your health. And this is all I wanted to discuss with you all tonight. I wanted to come from a place of love and self-fulfillment here, as I said, by the fire. And I wanted to go into your heart because I really, really love humanity. I want to serve humanity. I spend my hours thinking about what am I going to tell you all next? How am I going to serve my clients next? But I also know that I am a part of that humanity I am to love. Are you all with me? And if you are, I want you to put yourself first. If that means telling your family or somebody else no, that is okay. No is a complete sentence. If that means you finally reach out to me and say, Elena, I'm ready to jump feet first because I'll put myself first, fantastic, reach out and we'll talk. It's not a guarantee I'll take you on, but we'll give it a shot and see what we can do. If this means that you need to quit your second job and ask your partner to step up or your children to step up so you don't feel guilty all the time or don't feel obligated to provide for them if they're of the right age, you do that. If you're in a situation when you're in a relationship that is not serving you and you know it had run its expiration course and it's ready to exit, then you do that. Take care of you. Fix what's fixable, and everything else you just let go, and you start from a place of self-fullness, self-love, and then you serve others. With that said, my wonderful, lovely soul, I want to wish you a fantastic weekend. I will talk to you next week. And I want to also wish you optimal health and self-love. This is Elena Isolde Medici signing out and wishing you the best of everything.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the Health Wizard podcast. And please don't forget to tell others about it. If you would like to get more information about me and what I do, how I help amazing human beings just like you to achieve their dream health, go to www.360impacthealth.com. Go to the contact page and shoot me a note. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Health Wizard podcast. This is your host, Yelena, wishing you optimal natural health.